Hey everyone, thanks for watching this video. In this video, we wanted to just share a few thoughts about going tiny and what our process was and what our reasoning was behind it. Seems like when you watch YouTube videos about people going tiny, those are the two main things that they cover, so we thought we'd do our little spin on it. But anyway, I have my wife here with me, Deb.
Hello.
We're going to answer a few questions and just about our process. So first of all, why did we buy a tiny house? There were many reasons, but a couple of them were to downsize because it was more financially affordable for us and to be closer to family, right?
Yeah, I mean, we did move farther away from our daughter.
Yeah, we did, unfortunately.
But,
But maybe she'll move this way someday.
Well, I don't know about that. But
We'll see.
our son and daughter-in-law were having a baby, and they just kind of requested help with our granddaughter. And
Childcare.
Kind of how we found ourselves in this situation.
Yeah, but we were thinking about downsizing. We had talked about buying a tiny house and moving to South Carolina several years ago, and before the thought of grandkids or anything like that. And we looked at tiny home communities and watched a lot of YouTube videos and, tiny house living on TV, the TV show and all that. So it's something that we were really interested in and started going to dealers in the area looking at park model homes, not so much like tiny home trailers like a lot of them are, but so we kind of settled on a park model because we wanted to have the bedroom on the lower level, not having to climb upstairs to get to the bedroom and stuff like that. So park models seemed to fit the bill for us, and so that's the direction we went in with that. But initially we had been looking at just buying a home in the area, and we just found that you still had the property to deal with and a bigger home, older home, and then just looking at the financials of that and selling our house that still had a mortgage on it, wanting to be debt free and not have a house payment.
Just wanted to add that we did talk about it. I mean, it's this tiny house living sat on the back burner for several years, really before it took off. Like, we started seeing it as an option, but I wanted to say we did have to do our homework. We had the idea of moving into our son's backyard, and he and his wife, our daughter-in-law, they thought it was a great idea too, wanting to help with our granddaughter. So our daughter-in-law could go back to work, and we did have to do the homework. We had to research what was any covenants. We had to go to the Register of Deeds to see what the covenants said, what was allowed. We had to check with the city, see what was allowed. We got some really good feedback actually from the town. They thought it was pretty exciting, and which was kind of funny. And then we had to do some things through the county. So there were lots
to get permits, environmental permits for a septic system, and
they had to come out and do a perk test and make sure it would work out. We had to decide, did we want our own electric, our own water system? Would it be better to tie into our son's? And that is what we did. We've tied everything into our son's, the main house. And yeah, so just make sure you do your homework.
That's kind of how we started out, was just researching whether we could actually put a tiny house in my son's backyard, which is what the video is showing. And yeah, so we did all that first before we started really looking and putting down money for the house and stuff like that. We started looking at dealers in our area, home dealers that had tiny homes or park models, which there were only 2 that we could find in our area in eastern North Carolina. And so we kind of settled on one that was out towards Swansboro, North Carolina. That's all I'm going to say about that. But they had a lot of different models to look at from different manufacturers. We settled on Great Outdoor Cottages because they used residential fixtures in the home, so it made it a little nicer. It has drywall in the house instead of the strips like a lot of them have to make it look like a mobile home. And then the fixtures in the bathroom are all things that would have come from Lowe's or somewhere like that, so if anything ever breaks, it's easy to find parts or to replace without having to look for mobile home stuff. So we thought that was the best option. And then so that's kind of how we came to buy the house that we did, the park model that we did, and then what else?
I would say where we purchased the house from, that particular dealer, we visited there twice before we actually went in and made the purchase. Like we went almost a year ago and walked through what they had, and they have quite a few to choose from. They have different manufacturers.
Yeah, and even after the fact, once the house was here and delivered and we started looking through it, we're like, oh, I didn't realize this or that. You're only in the house maybe 15, 20 minutes when you're looking at it, and you don't really realize some things. But anyway, that just happens probably with anything you buy, even with a car. You're just looking at it quickly and making decisions. But we did spend probably 6 months at least looking at it and researching and trying to make up a decision before we actually put money down on this particular home that we wanted to buy it. Just a couple things to be aware of, wanted to share with you, was the dealer. And the dealer promises they're going to do a lot, but our particular dealer that we got didn't deliver on everything, and their reasoning was because where we had the home set up was too far away from their service area, they said.
Yeah, ask that question. When the house is delivered, will we be within your service area or outside of your service area?
Yeah.
Because it might make a difference to you. And if they say, well, you're going to be outside of the service area, you
They
need
might
to
need to look somewhere else.
Well,
or whatever.
Well, either that, or we'll just say, okay, well, the house has a warranty. How are we going to deal with warranty issues while it's under warranty? So, yeah, definitely for sure. That is
Ask lots of questions.
That's an important question to ask.
Okay. Well, anyway, I hope this video was helpful, and thanks for watching our video.